Riots in LA, Antifa, National Guard, Marines, and the biggest question is right now. So what do we see in LA since Friday evening? Burning cars, burning streets, shops get looted, National Guard is clashing against Antifa, the police is overwhelmed. Trump sends National Guard, which didn't happen in 60 years of the last history of America, and Governor Newsom calls it tyranny. But is it actually tyranny, or did Trump what he had to do to save the civilians in LA? We will hear in this content and this section about what actually happened and how it escalated and who is actually involved. So on June 6th, a little group of Antifa members posted a flyer on Facebook, a post about inviting people to stop the deportings riot in LA at the Almadeo Street. What was the trigger for this protest or this riot? On Friday, the 6th of June, there were raids of the ICE department in the neighborhoods of LA to locate criminal illegals who already had warrants to get them arrested and then deported. But the public understanding was that those were just ICE raidings of normal illegals, which didn't commit crimes, just to get them arrested and deported. But Border Judge Tom Homan made that clear in a press conference on Sunday or Monday.
It wasn't an immigration raid. It was a service of 3 criminal warrants at locations based on a large criminal conspiracy that ICE is investigating. That has to do with money laundering, tax evasion, and customs fraud, where a company underdeclared over $80 million in goods, failed to pay $17 million in fees. And it's part of an overall conspiracy on numerous businesses that they believe that some of this money is being laundered in Mexico and Colombia, the fund cartel activity. So this was a criminal investigation that they all responded to in the beginning. That's how it all started.
So hundreds of protesters arrived at the headquarters of ICE and starting protesting, and with the first burning car and throwing of a Molotov cocktail, the protest wasn't a protest anymore, so it became into a riot. So how did this so-called emergency protest escalate into a riot? Hundreds gathered at Alameda Street, that's where the headquarters is, and many of them were masked. And they had foreign flags with them. So most of them were Mexican flags, but also there were Palestinian flags seen. And the protesters started attacking police and federal agents with fireworks, glass bottles, and stones. And they also ordered Waymo autonomous vehicles. So there's a self-driving cars, and they can use like Uber. And they sent them in, they called them in to the street to start burning those cars. Also, several federal buildings, including the ICE office, were getting vandalized. And they also started to blocking the 101st freeway in both sides and halting traffic. And at this point, the police declared the protest as unlawful. Meanwhile, it started on Sunday where the shops got looted. They were escalating the chaos. What we also have to remember this in this whole time between Friday evening and Sunday, most of the mainstream press said this is a peaceful protest, and there was also a news content where the reporter said, oh, they're just people who like watching cars burn.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
So the mainstream media plus the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, and the governor from California, Gavin Newsom, they underplayed this whole situation and said, oh, that's just a peaceful protest. There is no reason to call in the National Guard. That's why Trump jumped in and said, yeah, this is insurrection. This is a paid insurrection. So we're going to use Article 4, which allows the president to deploy the National Guard into states which are not declared emergency state. This is now a kind of a fishy situation because Newsom takes this order now as a unlawful order, a tyranny order and said he will sue Trump for deploying the National Guard.
Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets, illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. Stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless deployment of American troops to a major American city.
So with sending the first 2,000 National Guard soldiers, the situation seemed to de-escalate, but that was only for a short term. And what we also have to understand that there was no National Guard sent by a president for over 60 years. So this was kind of a special move from Trump. And he also said that he's going to deploy now 500 US Marines from Camp Pendleton to LA. And also that he's gonna increase the numbers of National Guard soldiers and will send 2,000 more to get the situation sorted, especially after the LAPD made a statement at a press conference that they are totally overwhelmed and that the protesters are using tools who can kill officers. So what are actually those National Guard troops doing right now in LA? So we know that they are securing federal buildings, they're securing the federal prison in LA where already protests having started and protesters were violating a law and throwing bottles and started riots at the federal prison. We know that the police are using pepper spray and other anti-riot ammunition to stop the riot, to get the situation under control. We know that this didn't really worked because in a press conference, the police chief from LAPD said already that they are overwhelmed and they need help.
We saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers.
So that was the major reason for Donald Trump to send the first 2,000 National Guard soldiers. We know now from a tweet, or we have this situation right now, that Newsom is now trying to build this narrative that the soldiers getting treated very poorly. They sleep on the floor, they don't get enough water, and actually just sitting around doing nothing, and only 500 National Guard soldiers are actually doing something on the street. So they are totally unuseful and treated badly, and this is how our troops or the American troops should not be treated. So he's building this narrative right now, so it's going to be very interesting how this whole situation unfolds in future. But what is actually the most interesting part of this whole riot situation? It's actually the fight between Trump administration and Governor Newsom, who tries to frame Donald Trump and the whole administration who are sending soldiers into the city to calm the riots down as unconstitutional. He gonna explain this to a letter to the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and labels this whole situation with sending the troops as a very, very dangerous spectacle. And that he is not willing to just let that go, that President of the United States sent soldiers against the citizens. So he is claiming that LA, or in California, and we have to think about that California is a democratic state and LA is a sanctuary city. That means it's very, very easy to stay there as an illegal immigrant, because with a sanctuary city, they don't really believe in illegal immigration. So they say everyone who lives there is a citizen. And even the Mayor Karen Bass said, and this is mostly peaceful protests.
The protests, and even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protests, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence.
She will stand with the citizens of the city LA, and all those escalation of sending military troops into LA is not in favor of this whole situation. Trump went back then and put some tweets out and was also saying in an interview, if they spit at us, we're gonna hit. And we're not tolerating any mass protesters anymore. We're not tolerating hate insurrections. He's literally mentioning with the Antifa promoting this protest or this riot. He sees it as a planned and not organic protest, and he has every right to stop it with the military. What is actually now the biggest question, what we as spectators have to think about? It's like, okay, we saw all the pictures and the videos going around on social media, how cars burn, how those protesters waving Mexican flags, burning American flags, and also waving Palestine flags, throwing stones, glasses, Molotov cocktails, not only on police officers, also on cars just driving by. They used the excuse that those raids by ICE against illegal immigrants are the reason, which is totally wrong. The Antifa is using this boiling situation between federal agents of ICE and illegal immigrants to stir up tension and start riots, to create a situation of kind of a civil war, because the streets of LA look very much like a war zone right now. And with all the lootings, very understandable move from Trump to deploy National Guard and says, okay, this is a situation where I have to think about the citizens first. And we could just think about what's happening in our countries, like in the UK or in Germany, when we would have such riots starting. And we know that probably our government would not handle this like Trump would handle it, and they would more be on the side with the Californian governor. And yeah, it's interesting how this whole situation goes on, especially when you see on 14th of June, there is Flag Day and also the birthday from Donald Trump. And already several communistic parties and NGOs are promoting protests all over the US to say, no, it's not the King's Day. We're not going to tolerate those fascist actions like deporting illegal immigrants. So it's going to be very interesting what's happening in the US and how this whole situation with National Guard and deploying troops on American soil will goes out. And yeah, I will keep you posted and informed how the situation will hopefully not increase or escalate, but we will keep you updated.